Back in 2019, I reviewed the Teak non-removable cable version, and I found them to be a pain in terms of their long cable, and furthermore, and more fundamentally, their audio positioning when it came to in-game sounds was a little bit off. Here I'm presented with the removable cable variant, and I'm very much excited to share you my results. Now if you're interested in purchasing them, the links in the description below will take you to relevant links, be it to Imu's website or to Massdrop, or Drop as it's called now. And if you have got Instagram, I'd very much appreciate a follow. It's at TotallyDubbed. And furthermore, if you are interested in all electric or hybrid vehicles, do check out Totally EV. Your support would be greatly appreciated. So first off, let's talk about the build quality and design. And straight away, what I want to talk about is the absolute beautiful look that these headphones have. And yes, ignore the little mod mic input that I've got over here because I use these headphones for gaming as well. Now the headphones design is just to die for. This lovely, beautiful teak headphone, it just looks absolutely stunning. Now just to give you a bit of a comparison, here are my Denon AHD 2000 with a custom D5000 cup, and you can see over here that the wood design on the Teak is just by far beyond the Denon headphones over here, and I'll allude back to the Denon headphones in just a bit. There are also a few different cup variations which Emu sent me. So here is a darker bamboo cup, and then here is a lighter bamboo cup. You can see the lighter bamboo cup actually looks really nice as well, while the darker one isn't quite my taste, but this is just subjective. I'll get into the sound quality section as to how these cups affect the sound in just a bit. Aside from that, it is worth knowing that some of these cups, like specifically this lighter bamboo cup, is slightly deeper. That also does affect the sound quality, and again I will be talking about this specifically when it comes to the sound stage of them. Now cups aside, the headphones still have a really old school Denon design. As you might be able to see from these Denon headphones over here, they look absolutely identical. Ignore the suspended design and the fact that it's got diminished padding at the top. Now what I will say about this Denon design, while it is very comfortable and very useful and very, well, great to have for a long period of time, it's just that over time this headband is going to degrade, so you might want to get a suspended design as you saw on my Denon headphones, and you'll also want to be slightly careful with them given that the overall construction here has been known on the old school Denons to be a little bit looser. So things to be kind of mindful about, but in my case, as you can see, these headphones have lasted well over 8 years and I had no issue with the headband other than the fact that it's started to degrade, and therefore to preserve it I got a suspended design. Now the biggest thing for me over here is the fact that the headphones come with a removable cable. That was my biggest complaint with the original Teak, whereby the cable itself was an absolute nightmare. Instead here you're presented with 2.5mm terminations. I've heard it can be slightly tricky to get a kind of a replacement, but if you're in this type of market you can look into custom cables, so that wouldn't be too much of an issue. Now the cable over here is braided, although you can see it does start to kink, specifically if you start wrapping it around. The headphone cable that's included isn't exactly the best. Now while it is an improvement over the old school one, which is a little bit more reminiscent to this Denon headphone over here, it is a little bit annoying in terms of how much microphonics you get. In other words, when let's say your shirt or something like that brushes against this cable, it resonates through the headphones. Wasn't so much of an issue with the older cable design that was provided with the original Teak. So there's some pros and cons with the removable cable variant. What I will say, however, I do much prefer the cable purely because it's a lot shorter, a lot more practical, and if it ever breaks then I can always remove it. So that is a great sign when it comes to longevity. Now popping the cable to a side, I want to also talk about the pads. Now these are the default pads that come included, while the ones I've got over here are the ones I've used with my Denons for many years, and that's the Lawton Audio pads. Now these pads over here are very well worn and used, and yet you can see the difference in terms of the size over here. Now what it means is that these cups are not only a little bit more comfortable for longer period of usage, specifically with myself, which have got pretty big ears, is that also it does affect the sound, whereby your ear is a little bit further away from the driver, therefore giving you a little bit better width and depth in terms of the instrument separation. I'll touch upon this again in terms of the sound quality section, but something you might want to look into investing into more deeper pads which are a bit more accustomed for, well, longer period of usage. But your mileage may vary, you might prefer the stock pads, so it's just worth bearing that in mind. Now in terms of the stock pads themselves, they are soft, they will be perfectly fine for people who wear glasses at their desk, or use the headphones in other variety of methods, and furthermore they are breathable as well, so you won't feel too sweaty on them. Speaking about breathability and comfort, the top of the headband is not too squishy, there's not too much space over here in terms of comfort, so you might want to get that suspender design to provide that extra bit of comfort. But on the plus side, the headband doesn't dig on top of your head. It's also adjustable, whereby you can adjust it to a certain degree, and the cups themselves do also have a bit of wiggle room, and therefore means that it should fit all types of head shapes and head sizes. And now we get on to performance. Now first off, I want to touch upon that game positioning I mentioned at the beginning of the review, whereby in the original Teak version that I reviewed, I found them to have this weird positional cues when it came to in-game sounds. I can successfully say that there is no issues whatsoever with these headphones. I wasn't sure if that's to do with the cable, was it to do with the termination, or something that was fundamentally flawed with the drivers potentially. I have no idea. All I can say is that I don't have this issue anymore with the removable cable variant, which means that when it came to gaming, be it from Counter-Strike to, let's say, Destiny 2, any games that I played, I found that the positional cues were absolutely pinpoint accurate. So there was no issues here when it came to gaming performance. Now, while sonic performance in games is extremely important for a lot of people, what I was very much intrigued to see is how these would differ in terms of overall sound frequencies in comparison to, well, their predecessors. And here there was absolutely no difference, and that brought a massive smile to my face. There was no compromise made throughout the frequency range. Now, before jumping into the overall frequency range, and in case you hadn't watched my previous review, I do also want to mention about the different sorts of cups you can get. Now, apparently, according to IMU's founder, both of these cups are the bamboo ones, whilst the ones on around my neck, the ones on the headphones, are the teak variant. Now, what I will say is that the lighter bamboo variant that I have over here is a much heavier cup, both in the hand and when they're placed on the headphones and mounted. What I will say is these cups are slightly, deeper, and therefore produce a bit more of an airy soundstage. That's not necessarily a bad thing, but it meant that the overall sound frequency and sound signature felt a little bit more relaxed, and therefore I didn't feel as involved while listening to these deeper and hollower cups in comparison to the ones which are mounted, the teak ones. In comparison to the darker bamboo ones, what I found is the darker bamboo ones were slightly more V-shaped sounding, and therefore had a little bit more emphasis on the low end, which is great when it comes to listening to R&B and EDM music, but on the whole I just preferred the overall sound frequency range and the tonality that the default teak cups provided. So what I'm trying to say over here is that in case you had the choice of choosing between different cups, I am actually really impressed with the default cups that come with the IMU Teak, and yes, the Teak cups were incredibly good sounding. So how does it actually sound? Well, that's a good question, and let me break it down for you. First off, let's talk about the sub-bass tones. Now here, as they're closed-back headphones, these headphones also inherit this kind of old-school Foster, or should I say Fostex type of sound signature. They've got that low-end rumble that a lot of people crave, and a lot of people loved, specifically when they came from the old-school Denon range. So here, the MU Teak extend really well into the low end and give you that low end pronounced rumble without sounding cut off throughout the frequency range. As for the mid bass, there's no wobbly nature or any sort of feeling that there is not enough presence here. It's quite the opposite. You've got plenty of presence, plenty of healthy slam, and that kind of a woody, meaty type of sound that you would have loved when it came to the old school Denon headphones. Is very much the same case with the MU Teak. As for the mid-range, it is slightly V-shaped and slightly pushed back. There's no denying that when you compare it to open back headphones for example, from the Sennheiser range, or even, let's say, the Hi-Fi Man Sundaras, which are excellent headphones over here, and yes, even those headphones are slightly pushed back. And when you compare them to headphones which are far superior in terms of their mid-range tones, let's say the Sennheiser HD 800S or HD 820, then you'll find that these headphones will sound a lot more V-shaped sounding. But for the price that they came in at, then these headphones are extremely impressive in the mid-range tones, and put my Denon AHD 2000s or custom AHD 5000s, if you think of it that way, to complete shame, because the mid-range is so far forward and well pronounced that you almost forget how much mid-range you are missing in terms of the old school Denon headphones. As for the highs, these headphones do extend really well at the top end and don't sound harsh or sibilant. You do find a little bit of harshness that creeps in as with these darker bamboo cups, which are a little bit more V-shaped, as I mentioned before, and therefore you get a little bit more emphasis at the top end, and that's even taken off and a little bit more rolled off with these more deeper bamboo cups, purely because, well, they feel like they've got a bit more spaciousness, and therefore you feel that that high end isn't as well pronounced. But whilst with the Teak cups, what you'll find is these headphones will produce a really well-rounded sound in the high end tones. Now, what is really surprising with the Teak, and what will really bring a lot of smile and joy to a lot of people's ears, is the fact that their soundstage is really well done. What I really absolutely love about the Teak is that the sound signature that you get, that woody type of sound and that closed back sound that you get with these headphones, is truly exceptional, and what really made old school Denon headphones such a popular headphone back in the day. This soundstage and the kind of sound signature that it produces given the cups that you are using, and yes, no matter which cups you use, you'll find that these headphones sound incredible. Not only that, the instrument separation is truly fantastic and absolutely incredible for closed back headphones. Now, while they might not sound as airy and as open back headphones, they still do an incredible job at producing a good width and depth, specifically when it comes to deeper cups, which provide a little bit more sound stage almost for the drivers to kind of breathe. What you'll find is the depth in terms of the sound stage just increases all that slight bit more. Especially if you add Lawton Audio pads, which are a little bit deeper than the default Teak pads, which I mentioned before. What you'll find here is, again, you'll get a little bit more airiness, a little bit more width and depth that might not be quite present with, well, the default stock configuration with the Teak's pads. So what I'm trying to say over here is that the overall soundstage is truly exceptional for a closed back headphone, but it's not to be confused with an open back headphone, which in this domain will be far superior for providing a more open and airy sound. So what am I trying to say over here? Well, quite honestly, these headphones are absolutely amazing. Now, I mentioned it in my previous review of the Teak non-removable variant, and I said that these headphones are the best sounding headphones that I had heard. Now, that is not an understatement. While I have heard headphones which cost quadruple, even 5 times the price of the Teak, none of these headphones truly match the overall type of sound signature and the sound frequency capabilities that these headphones offer. Yes, there are headphones such as the Sennheiser HD 800S would be much better pick for better instrument separation and width and depth. There are headphones out there which do a slightly better job throughout the frequency range, such as the Audiophile LCD2 or LCD3. There are headphones out there such as the Sennheiser HD 820s, which do a great job at producing a good mid-range and yet providing a slightly warmer sound signature. But none of these headphones, and including the Fostex TH900 MK1 and MK2, provide the overall package at this price tag and can even compete with the Teak. These are really my endgame headphones, and I can't think of better headphones that I have heard, let alone reviewed or even owned, that would beat these headphones. And yes, that even includes my old school Denon headphones, which I've loved to absolute death, but they've come to a side and come to, not say end of life, but have been replaced positively by the Teak. Now, as a result, these get my Best Buy award. I mean, if there was a better award than that, I would give them a double, triple Best Buy award, because it's not often where I really, really love a product where it becomes my daily driver, and these headphones are basically that. And I can't stress it enough, these are incredible headphones, but their biggest flaw is the fact that you might not be able to find them. And I know that seems rather silly to do a review where it might be availability might be an absolute pain, but if you can get your hands on them, absolutely jump on it, because, well, you should. Now, this is not a paid review, it's completely independent, and I've not been sponsored or told by anyone to say this. If anything, I was full free reign to completely flame these headphones, specifically if it came to their gaming performance. Alright guys, I've been Totally Dubbed, hopefully you've enjoyed this review. Make sure you give it a like if you have, subscribe to see more, and of course favourite and share. Take care, and bye bye.